Hey everyone, Oli here and welcome to my review of The Crusade, the 6th story of the second season of classic Doctor Who, and the 14th story overall, starring William Hartnell as the first Doctor. It's 4 episodes long and it's written by David Whittaker, and this is the 5th historical episode of Doctor Who. The Crusade is also the 3rd story to have missing episodes, and the only episode in season 2 that's missing, as only episodes 2 and 4 of The Crusade are missing. Episodes 1 and 3 exist and you can watch on the Lost in Time box set, but I don't own the Lost in Time box set because it's kind of outdated. As between 2004 when it was released and at this point I'm recording in 2019, some of these episodes have been found on DVD, so have been found and or either animated and released on DVD. So the plot of The Crusade is as follows. The TARDIS lands in 12th century Palestine, where a holy war is in progress between the forces of King Richard the Lionheart and the Saracen ruler Saladin. Barbara is abducted in a Saracen ambush, and the Doctor, Ian, and Vicky make their way to King Richard Palace in the city of Jaffa. Okay, so The Crusades, I thought it was a very good story, very brilliant, and a near perfect story in my opinion, even though there were some bits that I thought could have been better, but I'll explain those in a bit. The Crusade was very dramatic and had a very classy feel to it as well. It was as if I was watching a period drama or something like that. There are a lot of strong performances in this story, especially from William Hartnell, even though he didn't do a whole lot in this story, but he still manages to entertain. And I like the part when he and Vicky steal clothes in the market in episode 1. I thought that scene was actually quite funny. Speaking of Vicky, it is quite clear that she's adjusted to TARDIS travel, and I like the whole her subplot in the story where she has to be a boy, but then she's found that she's a girl, but she has to dress up as a boy for her protection, so the Doctor claims. And Ian as well, he did very good in this story. He's even given a knighthood by King Richard, and that was pretty cool in my opinion. And I also like the part when he was in the desert in the last episode. He was held captive by Ibrahim, and then he was menaced by killer ants because Ibrahim poured honey so the ants would at least attack Ian. And the way Ian escaped was actually quite cool. I mean, he tricked Ibrahim into thinking he had gold in his boot, even though he denied having gold in his boot before. That was, once again, Action Man Ian comes again. Okay, so Barbara, she was quite impressive as well, even though the whole subplot of her getting captured by the Saracens I wasn't really too impressed about. I mean, I'm not really too crazy about damsel in distress companions, but I'll explain that later on. But whilst Ian was on his way to save Barbara with Abraham, she was able to escape from the Saracens and rescue herself, but she was later found by Ian, and they went back to the Doctor and Vicky. But Barbara, in my opinion, I think she's been enjoying some good character development during her time in the TARDIS, and this story, as well as the Web Planet, even though I'm not too crazy about that story, has really shows her character development. And the impressive things she's done so far, in my opinion, are she destroyed aliens that are altering reality in the brain of Mobius. Sorry, the keys of Marinus. Was able to tell that she was about to be given a poison drink by Tutoxo in the Aztecs. Ran over the Daleks with a truck and imitated the Daleks, causing an uproar in the Dalek invasion of Earth. Killed the creature even though she found out it was harmless from Vicky in the rescue, and then she destroyed the big bad the Animus in the Web Planet. To conclude, Barbara is an underrated badass. The direction by Douglas Camfield was brilliant, and I think this is his first story that he directs. I mean, his direction, in my opinion, is probably one of the best I've seen in classic Doctor Who. And he directs some very good stories as well, such as Inferno, The Daleks' Master Plan, The Terror of the Zygons, and The Invasion. I also liked the set design of this story. I mean, it was very well done, especially King Richard's Palace in Jaffa. That was very good. I really liked the design of that. I mean, in 62, they never, classic Who in general, did they ever fail with the set design? Because even if it was all in the studio, it was actually quite good. There was a There were quite a number of characters, but there were some that were memorable and they stood out in my opinion. The first of them being King Richard I, played by the ever so brilliant Julian Glover. He would go on to play Count Scorleone in The City of Death. I'm not sure if he plays in any other stories, but The City of Death is one of my favorite Tom Baker stories, and I can't wait to review that when I get to the Fourth Doctor era. He was very good in that story, and it's very good in this story as well. Jean Marsh, another amazing actress, she played Joanna. She was brilliant. She would return later on in the year, 1965, to play the temporary companion, what was it again? Sarah Kingdom. Yeah, it's a shame she actually dies in that story. It would have been nice to have seen her at least travel with the Doctor a bit more, but I think there are some Big Finish stories that she does travel with the Doctor, but I'll listen to those when I get to it. I even need to get into Big Finish. I've watched Doctor Who, listened to Doctor Who in the Parrot, and that was a very good story to listen to. And she returns in Battlefield 24 years later after this story. Ella Keir, he's another character that stands out, was a very good villain, and I love the cliffhanger for episode 3 when he was telling Babs that death wasn't very far in between, and Barbara's face in the end of that story, that was just end of that episode, that was actually quite chilling. Even though those actors back in those days, they had, I think it was blackface, that's something I kind of looked down upon, but it was kind of, because there weren't any persons of color actors back in the British acting scene in the 60s, so I let it, if it was the norm back then, and nothing too much to complain about. But to summarize, the supporting cast were very good and they were quite strong as well. Now, the issues I have with this story, the whole plot to achieve the TARDIS crew become separated, I think at this point in time is becoming quite repetitive, and I just wish there was a story where they just all stick together. I mean, we've seen that in the Planet of the Giants and some of the early Doctor Who stories, such as The Unearthly Child. I wouldn't say the Daleks, they were separated for quite a bit at that point. Marco Polo, not necessarily Marco Polo, or the Aztecs, or the Censorites, but they were together in the Edge of Destruction, but that was just like a mini bottle episode. But yeah, but there aren't a whole lot of stories that actually have a plot where the Doctor and the companions actually stay together. Even if it's just one companion or 3 companions, I just wish there was this support they would all stick together. And there aren't a whole lot of stories that repeat this. There were a lot of speaking characters in this story, and it was kind of hard to keep up with them. I think there was quite a lot of them. I think this is one of the main issues why the Crusade isn't being animated by the guys that made the Macra Terror. I think they explained that because there are so many speaking characters and the set designs and the costumings and stuff, it does take time to animate and stuff, so that's why they won't be able to animate it, and that kind of makes me a bit sad. And my final issue is Barbara. Even though I did explain that she is an amazing companion and she does have some badass moments, especially in this story, but I don't really like the whole issue of the damsels in distress companions. I mean, it's a bit excessive, it's a bit overused, and it is kind of a bit annoying, to be honest. I mean, the plot has been overused for so many years. I mean, yeah, but it would have been nice to have seen like Vicky in this situation, because she's just new. I mean, she's been with the Doctor. I mean, ever since she started traveling with the Doctor, since the rescue, she was with the Doctor in the Romans. She was with the Doctor and Ian for a bit in the Web Planet, and she was with the Doctor again in this story. I would have put Vicky in the situation Barbara was, so we can at least see what Vicky is like in like these tense situations where she's away from the Doctor and her traveling buddies, and it would have been nice to have seen her get some character development in this scenario, even though that would put her in Susan Clone territory, but you win some, you lose some. But overall, none of these issues take away the fact that The Crusades is a very enjoyable story. It's also a very good story and a lot better than The Red Planet, in my opinion. It's a huge step up, and I will give The Crusades an 8.5 out of 10. I do hope episodes 2 and 4 are found, or at least animated, so season 2 is complete, so if they can find episode 1, if they found episode 1 was found in 1999 in New Zealand it was returned by a private collector, I think. Yeah, but at least, I hope it gets found, or at least it's animated, so at least we can have season 2 complete. So my next review will be the Space Museum, and this is Ian Barber's penultimate story. The end is nigh. Ooh. So thank you for watching this review, and let me know how I did and what you thought of the Crusades. Subscribe to my channel, and please tell your Doctor Who friends to watch this channel, especially if they're classic Who and even if they're new Who, even though I haven't really addressed any new Who issues yet other than the season 12 trailer. But please tell your friends to watch this channel. I don't have a whole lot of subscribers, but please tell them about this channel. So see you around, guys.